I'd like to welcome Brett to the stage. Brett is an accomplished business leader who leads from the front with over 12 years' experience in management roles within the Asia-Pacific region. He has successfully created and sustained the growth of various software businesses from start-up to mature business. His current role is Sales Leader Performance Management, Business Analytics Growth Markets Units at, I don't need to say where given the length of that title, IBM, which leverage his strengths in building and managing high-performance teams. Please welcome Brett.
Okay, thank you so much, Andrew, for that welcome, and it's great to be here. So, as the title suggests, I'm from IBM, and I look after a division within Software Group, and I work across growth markets for IBM. So that's everywhere except Western Europe, Japan, and North America. It's always the best way to describe that. I'm going to talk about analytics in the context of sales performance this morning. I'm also going to talk about IBM's journey and how IBM is using analytics itself. I know Angela's going to cover that as well, so I think it's important talking about how IBM's using analytics. And then I'm going to close just very briefly on the platform that we have in terms of how it works with the RPMGI offering, and then we have a short demo from David as well. So what I'd like to start with is just really an overview on what executives are thinking today around their businesses. Now, we conduct a study every 12 months with the C-suite, and this is an early discovery session, or a sneak peek, if you will, on what executives are thinking of, what they're seeing in their businesses as of this year. So we've surveyed around about 4,000 C-suite executives, from CFOs to risk officers to marketing officers to CEOs. So, and I think this sets the context for what the rest of the team will talk about today. So you can see here, just some of the quotes. CIOs are saying that communication is significantly moving towards social media. This is not a new thing. One of the key points on the bottom here, is how well do you know your customer? How in depth do you know your customer? So the sample is basically saying 34% know their customer well. By 2017, they're aiming to be, the sample is going to be 78%. So the other really important point, big data, and you may have heard that term, only 1 in 5 people or organisations are confident in using that. So just a couple of points that are setting the context for today. The other point on the bottom, you probably can't read it, it's a bit of an eye test, in that executives are also looking to create a consistent experience for customers across multiple channels, and I think that's important as well. So what's changed over the last 10 years? It's really about the customer, and we see the importance of that, and the way we term it is the empowered customer. So as a customer, we expect a lot from what we do on a daily basis, and it's quite important. Whether you're on an airline, whether you're doing shopping, this is fundamentally changing the behaviour of customers, whether you're in a B2C business or whether you're in a B2B business. So this has changed the way we sell as well. So, and Craig will talk more about this, but this is fundamentally the key to what we talk about. The other piece of it is, how do we connect to these customers? So companies are looking to connect to these customers through, not only directly, but through their network. So we have our own social offerings that we talk to, but it's from your systems out. It's to their customers, partners, and employees, and reaching them across multiple channels, as I talked about. The other part of this is, let me see. So the other part of this is just the explosion of data that we see within the world today. So this whole concept of these four forces, social, mobile, analytics and cloud, are all combining to produce results that we've never seen before. Some of you would have seen the phrase data as the new oil. Some of my colleagues talk about that. What that means is data is an asset we need to exploit. It's growing exponentially. Unstructured data is growing at something like 15 times the rate of structured data. So it's about how do we capture that, how do we take advantage of that and turn data, and using the oil as the analogy here, into the fuel that gives you the insights. So really the next point here is, and we talk about analytical-driven organizations, and what are the characteristics? So it's about how do you get to the point of insight, how do you use that data to generate the insights that gives you the fuel at point of impact. So information, people, perspectives and decisions, whether that's past, present or future, whether it's a strategic decision or a tactical decision, and all people, both inside and outside your organisation, and all data and all information. The other part of this is, we've done a lot of studies around how do analytic organisations who are using analytics, and how do they compare to their peers. So you can see from a financial perspective, people who are using analytics are outperforming their peers typically, from revenue to profit to stock price appreciation. So it's all about not only listening but also anticipating what's going to be next, not being the taillights, being the headlights for the organisation. Now, I wanted to cover briefly what IBM's doing. We started our analytics journey in 2009, and since then we've done around about 400 analytic projects. We're a very financially driven organisation. Finance is at the core of IBM, but we're also focused around sales. So, for example, I get a report in week 2 of every quarter that tells me where I'll finish in terms of my revenue by week 13. And it's scarily accurate. So that's something that we use not to basically give us a guideline around how we run our business. Some of the other things we use is using analytics to manage risk, using analytics to look at our coverage model and how we move people around based on the opportunity that we see across the different markets that we're doing business in. So this is quite important to us, and for like most people and like most companies, it's a journey that we're going on around analytics. So what's the reality in terms of sales organisations today? Really, it's there's a difference between our aspirations and where we are. So in terms of a lot of the analytic processes in organisations today, they're not prepared for the volatility within the marketplace. A lot of the systems are siloed. There's a tail light view instead of a headlight view, and predominantly companies are still using spreadsheets to run their business. There's lots and lots of what we call shadow systems, whether that's shadow systems running compensation, whether it's a shadow system running your forecast. Essentially, there was an article in the New Statesman in May which asked, is Excel one of the most dangerous applications in the world? It's not if it's used appropriately, but in most cases it's been used inappropriately. Really where we have to get to is away from individual productivity to being collaborative, to being forward-looking, and being able to understand what do we need to do at any point in time in our organisation, in the quarter, to achieve optimum sales performance. Now, I have an example which we've been developing around revenue management. And this whole term revenue management is quite new. So we have a number of different use cases, if you will, that we're working on. This particular one is for a commercial bank and looking at the revenue management process end to end. And what does it take? So there's various interactions, there's various parties involved, from clients to account managers, and of course you've got regulatory challenges that you have to meet as well. So we look at this holistically. We look at this in terms of starting with a product, modelling price scenarios, dealing with a client, billing the client, then monitoring the deals that we have in our pipeline, looking at profitability, looking at compensation for the account managers, and it's a closed loop approach here. So this is one example that we're using. We have other examples across other industries. The other key thing on the bottom of the slide here is about what if and scenario modelling and predictive. So what are the most profitable products that you can take to market based on your modelling, based on what you're seeing in the marketplace at any point in time. So having the capabilities to be able to simulate what are the most profitable products is very, very important. Now, I'm not going to go through this in detail because we're coming up to the hard stop. But essentially, IBM has one platform, one single platform when it comes to analytics, when it comes to planning, when it comes to scorecarding. And we work with our partners, that being RPMGI, to deliver that. So what you'll see today is essentially built on the IBM platform. The great thing is it is just one single platform. It's very integrated, and you can basically do everything from the left to the right in terms of how you want to build it. So with that, I'm going to stop. I'll be here for questions. I'll be on the panel. And thanks for your time, and I'll hand back to Andrew.